Today, I want to take the time to talk about, of course, myself. Joking, I'm not prideful. I just sit here talking about myself because who else is there to talk about? But in this video, let me make sure my mic quality is up so everyone can hear. But this video, I really wanted to talk about me coming out and the reason why. So, of course, this all would date back to childhood of what was like the main blockage of me not wanting to, but that's because for me, I grew up with Islam, and Islam and homophobia, they're not like, they're not like the greatest combination. And I feel like people should understand that as a child, when your brain is developing, the things that you learn is something that really like, it's really meaningful to you. So like, if someone were to tell you like, oh, when it rains outside, make sure you're inside or else you'll get swept away. As a child, if you hear something like that, you're not going to question it because you don't have too much knowledge of the rain. So you're like, oh my gosh, like the rain is a scary thing. So let me make sure I'm inside every time it rains. So for me, it was like one thing I had heard growing up was being gay is wrong. If you're gay, you go to hell. So as a child, hearing something like that, it stuck in my brain. And the thing is, I knew what I liked from when I was young. So when I heard that and that stuck with me, the discomfort that brought to me really like destroyed my little self as a child. And for people who saying like, being gay is a choice, being lesbian or this and that is a choice. The thing is, when you're looking from the outside in, you don't know how it felt to deal with that. So that's what maybe this video is also going to tell you about. Because for me, when I realized who I was, again, I was surrounded by a lot of females growing up. I had only sisters. I don't have any uncles. I had 2 cousins who were boys, but majority of the time I was with my sisters because they're my sisters. Like, we're living in the same house together. So I was for the majority of amount of time, I was surrounded by my sisters. My dad was present in my life when I was growing up, but it was like on and off type thing. 1 second, it was on and off type thing. So he was there, but he wasn't. So I can't say I didn't. No, I can. The figure of being a man, it was kind of a little bit distorted for me. It's like I knew, but I didn't really know because like a man is here, but then for the majority of the time, women are here. So again, the things that you learn as a child are things, I can't breathe, wait. I can't right though. The things you learn as a child is things that like really change your experience. Like little things that you see, you start to pick up. That's why children from young, they learn swearing, because if you're around swearing, that's something you're going to get used to saying and doing. So as I started growing up, I really, for a long time of being young, I would cry. And I would cry and cry and I would cry and wish that I was someone else. And it was just very discouraging and very uncomfortable having the thought linger in my head that because of who I am, I'm going to go to hell. And again, as a child hearing something like that, it really destroyed my little brain. Like it really did. It was never a day where I wasn't thinking about it, because then living in it and struggling with it and then having to like deal with that thought of just, oh my gosh, like if I were to die tomorrow, I'm going to go to hell. If I were to die next week, I'm going to go to hell. It was the worst feeling in the world. And that's why for a long time, I grew up I told myself, I said I would never tell anybody about who I am, because this is not who I want to be. This is not who I want to be. So if I were to tell someone, then it's going to go against my religion, and I want to live for my Lord. And again, even with that being said, even though it's said that gay people go to hell, or however it's exactly said, because maybe it's not exactly said like that, or man shall not lay with man, or however it may come out. Regardless of what it said, it does not push me away from God. It does not like lessen my belief in God. However my outcome is in the end, it will be my outcome, and I will still continue to be a good person and still do good and still pray and do everything in my power to worship my Lord, because I've always had him. And still, even if I'm not the ideal person of what a person is meant to be, that is fine with me, and I still have a strong belief in God. But Moving on, high school time came. No, elementary. Elementary, it's crazy because kindergarten was my first look at an openly gay child. And when I mean openly gay, very openly gay. His name was Dodgerick. The thing is, that name always stuck in my head. It's a name I can never forget because, again, it was the first look at an openly gay child. And why? Because he had a crush on me and he would not leave me alone and made me extremely uncomfortable. But still, I knew who I was. Elementary, I had little crushes. I knew they were guys, but the thing is, I was young, so I didn't really want to, like, I wasn't trying to act on anything. Like, I'm just a little boy. Like, who knows if how I'm feeling is just like a period of confusion. So I just let that thought marinate and just didn't really let it bother me. But when high school time came, it was the bully era. I feel like a lot of people early high school had to go through a little era of being bullied, and I definitely went through that era, and it was extremely uncomfortable hearing people say you're gay and people make fun of me for being gay. Because the thing is, I wasn't trying to have that label on myself because it was not who I wanted to be. So I was sitting there defending every case of anyone who had anything to say about it because it was nothing that I wanted for myself. But then it was something I try to fight off. But then when I'm hanging out with girls, it's like, you're not beating the allegations, babes. So then I met Gracie and Jade in grade 6. I don't know when I told them about who I was, maybe later on, or maybe they were very accepting of me regardless of matter if I was or if I was not. They were accepting of me. They took me in regardless of what the fuck I liked, okay? But high school time, it was a great time. I was open with my friends, still kept away from my father. If I never ever, anytime my parents asked me, oh, do you like boys? I'd be like, no. Oh, no, 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 no. Never in my life. Never that, never that. But I already knew what I like. But I'm not going to go through a whole story time, so fuck this. Now let's scrap it. Let's get to now. The thing is, I'm 20. I only came out when I was 19 to my parents. Why? That was because my parents support me and my career choices. And the thing is, I want to do content in YouTube. But the thing is, I have this ideal in my head of, oh, I want people to be able to be themselves around me. I want people to be happy being themselves. But the thing is, I wouldn't be able to push that ideal if I wasn't even comfortable with who I was. How would I want people to be themselves if I wasn't being myself? How would I want people to be happy in their skin if I wasn't happy in my skin? That's why I told myself, with those ideals and with what I want to do and content and speaking to people, if I'm pushing something out that I'm not following, that would only make me a hypocrite. So I knew my parents would be seeing me on social media, and the thing is, I didn't want to get in front of a camera having to like follow some type of guideline, or not being able to like step over a certain line of how I want to express myself. So I was like, it's time. However they may take it, they're going to take it as that. But regardless, I know what I want to do in life, and I need to do this in order to keep moving forward, because without doing this, I feel like I would never be able to sit on the internet and truly be myself. My dad, I expected to hear something worse from him because, again, my father was like very into Islam, like very much into, like, he's very, very, very religious man. So I expected him to just like destroy me, just disrespect the person I am, and just go against every type of freaking thing I had to say. So I told him first because, well, even though I live with my mother, I still felt a little closer to my father, and I still felt like, I don't know, something's telling me like he would be a little bit more understanding about it. So I told him, and well, his response, it was very wholesome. I very much loved his response. It's not what I was expecting, but sometimes people they really do shock you. But when I seen that response, I did cry a little bit because it felt nice hearing that, even though I still know that with regardless of what he might have said, I still know with religion and what is said in it, he might not accept me for who I am. But regardless, as long as he still is willing to be my father, then that's all I really care about. But then I told my mother later on, that wasn't the best thing. And the thing is, I don't even love my mother any less for the way that she came off on me about it, because I still understand the principle that when you're used to something and when you're used to a certain way of life and then something new comes, not everybody's willing to embrace something so new. So that's why I didn't really stay mad at her or anything for the way she voiced her opinion about how I felt. And it just did hurt me, because like, it hurt. I can't admit, in the moment it did hurt me a bit, because you know, like, it took me a long time to want to actually be able to fully reveal myself and actually speak up about myself, because that's not something I usually do. So that response, it did hurt me, because I've been keeping it back and not wanting to tell my parents about it. So now that I finally built the courage after 19 years of not being able to do it, yeah, it did kind of hurt being like told off like that. But then she came back and we spoke about it, and then it was fine. But you know, I know it's like living in the skin of what some might view as sin. It might be hard, but you know, I feel like I always say, like, if this is truly your one life and you don't get a second chance, then I just couldn't live a life for someone else. I couldn't live a life of being who someone else wanted me to be, because if this life was about me, then how could I live it for someone else? You know, if it's truly me being the main character in my life, then I want to be able to be that main character and be happy about who I am being that character. That's why I just wanted to speak my truth and say that, because I know a lot of younger people, or even people still this age, you know, it's something people to this day have a hard time with, you know, because again, depending on the environment, the people, the family, not everybody's so accepting of it. But regardless, now I feel like the time we're in now, it's very, as you can see, there's very LGBTQI plus, I think it is, you know, it's transgenders, it's a lot of different things, the pronoun stuff. I feel like now the just community around homosexuality, or just, I don't know what just being, what would you even call it, for being a part of just being a part of the LGBTQ, it's very more like open now. But I feel like one thing I didn't like about it was the pushing it on children, because the thing is, I didn't need that pushed on me as a child for me to understand who I was. So to put it on children, again, with the way that as a child you're growing up learning things, I feel like if you were to put that on them, it would just make them more prone to fall into it. And again, I fell down that hole myself. I didn't need to see this and that, because again, in the early 2000s wise, I wasn't seeing gay this and gay this and gay that. I just knew who I was. You know, it wasn't about what I was seeing. It was just about who I was and my surroundings that led me there. So that's why I'm not for the whole pushing it onto children and showing children this. I feel like children shouldn't really look at these stuff until their brain is more developed, and then they could actually understand it, because learning it as a child would only mean falling into it, I feel like. But let me not go too far into that. But again, I feel like you just have to find comfort in being who you are, because I was very uncomfortable trying to be someone I'm not and just live up to an image that wasn't an image that seemed like the one in my head. That's why I said, well, I couldn't do it, because no matter the person I tried to be, the tears didn't go away. That's why I just had to embrace it. And that's what, well, fucking brings me here today. And again, a lot of people might not accept it, and this might make you like me less as a person, but you know, I just can't help be who I am, is what I can say. And I'm glad that I could finally embrace what I've been hiding for such a long time and actually be open to it, you know? Because again, it took me a long time to find comfort in my skin, no matter who I was talking to or who I was around. It took me a long time. There was something I wanted to say, but it's like slipping off the tip of my tongue. That's kind of sus for the topic I'm talking about. Pause. But regardless of what people might say, honestly, it's your life. You live it as you please. If you don't want to come out, if you want to stay in the closet and just be out to those who are close to you, you know, that's fine. Because again, People want to always, some people just want to live up to the image of who their parents want them to be and this and that. And again, that's completely fine. It's very different in people's situations because again, not everybody's living the same life. Not everybody has parents like mine who are still able to embrace something that's still not something that they're used to. But regardless, babes, be you. Regardless of who that is, just be you. And me, to this day, I don't even label myself as gay because I still have an ideal in my head of maybe, you know, one day I could end up with a girl. Who knows? And you know, one thing my mom said to me as she was not really too fond about what I came out to her about, she said, well, how do you know you like boys if you never been with a boy? But you know, that same instinct could be said with straight people, you know? If you never been in a relationship with the opposite sex, how do you know you like that? Right? But it's a general attraction. You know what you're attracted to. That's why. But still, again, I don't like to label myself. I'm just me, is what it is. If I fall in love with this person or that person, because I believe love is unpredictable. You know, you never know when you're gonna fall. That's why, who knows, today I could love a boy, tomorrow I could love a woman. Life is unpredictable. It always will be. And that's really it for today, guys. Find comfort in your skin. And regardless, be who you want to be. It's your life, babes. Live it how you want to live it. And that's all for today.